What's up, everybody? Brandon with Strict Vision Athletics here. This episode of the podcast features Jake from Octane Fit Garage. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me in.
Oh, my pleasure, man. We've been trying to do this for a while. Full disclosure, we've tried to do this now twice. We've been sort of the guinea pig pair with regards to the technological difficulties that have accrued. Putting a podcast together is not really as easy as people think it would be.
You know what they say, third time's a charm, though.
Yeah.
So we're good.
So this is it, man.
This
is great. We're going to make it happen. Yeah, man. I really wanted to have you on. I knew I wanted to have you on as one of the first guests on the podcast, just because, you and I have been in partnership for a while. All my clients use the meal plans that you guys have, and I obviously want to start with an introduction. I want you to sort of say, what it is you do. I want to talk about Coaches Know. I want to talk about Octane. I want to talk about, the course curriculum you're coming up with for online coaching, sure. All of that stuff. So let's start with Octane Fit Garage. What is that?
Sure. So Octane Fit Garage is a little pet project I've been working on probably about 5 years now. And it's a software that connects coaches to their clients remotely for online programming, putting together meal plans, putting together workouts. And it allows basically the seamless communications between both the client and the trainer. And, no one's had more experience with the software than you have. So especially from the trainer end of it. So, yeah. I know you've put together meal plans for clients. You are putting together meal plans for clients. Mm-hmm. What we really want to accomplish, though, even above and beyond the software, is creating a network, essentially, of coaches. A network that, coaches can collaborate, coaches can build their businesses within our software, and they can deliver a world-class online training experience.
Right. That's one thing that I wanted to make sure we touched on this time. It's so funny because we've done this so many times. I usually find questions after the fact. One thing I wanted to make sure that we touch on this time is kind of what you just said about how it's not just a software for trainers to use to create meal plans and online coaching, but it's a platform where coaches can recruit coaches and where coaches can teach people and sort of create their own team.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yeah, I can elaborate a little bit on that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of examples, and when, in my previous lives, I was what you can consider an affiliate of certain network markets. Mm-hmm. And really, my experience led me to find out the things that I like about network marketing and the things that I don't like about network marketing. Mm-hmm. And there's pros and there's cons. And I love the idea and the sense of community that network marketing creates, a network market creates. And, having essentially coaches, recruiting other coaches, teaching them up in the ways of the business side of coaching and also in the coaching side of coaching. Yeah. Those things are very much different. So there's the coaching side of online coaching, there's the business side. Mm-hmm. Those two things are mutually exclusive. You can have the best coach in the world who knows how to put together amazing programs, different types of programming for whatever he specializes in, he or she specializes in. And then you have the business side of coaching. Mm-hmm. And the business side of coaching really is everything else. It's an umbrella that covers everything else. And what I found when I first...
online teaching, seminars, influencers, all of that would fall into the category of the business side of things.
Yes, because the coaching is really how you impact your clients' health and fitness, how you impact their lifestyle. Yeah. The business side of coaching is, scaling, marketing. It's how to create revenue. It's being able to, fill in all of the holes in the business that, allow you to get from point A to point B. Yeah. Lead management systems, all types of things that go into the business side of it. And what I found when I started working with trainers is there's some amazing trainers out there
that have no idea how to do that because it's a full-time thing. I get that. I mean, we're dealing with that just with in-person training without even touching the online side of things. And I feel like so oftentimes trainers get stuck only focusing on the in-person training and the clients that they really see day to day. Because for most trainers, that's the bread and butter right out of the gate. It's the quickest way to generate revenue because they don't know that this option really exists. Maybe they've heard about online training. Maybe they even have a bad, taste in their mouth with regards to it. I mean, I certainly did when I first started, even just thinking about doing something like this. But no, it can be very, very beneficial. I know that it can reach a lot more people. You don't have as much, of a ceiling over your head, literally and figuratively. You can influence a lot more lives, and it'll allow you to just broaden your audience. And even if you are someone like me who's doing both online training and in-person training, learning how to scale your online presence will then translate to a larger in-person clientele, platform. That's
Totally.
where they both kind of go hand in hand. And it took me a little bit to really understand that, ignoring the online side and just being a good trainer is not enough to make it as a real business. If you ever want to get past this is my passion project phase of your company, you have to look outward.
Sure.
And for me, that came in the form of, a partnership with you, hiring the marketing rep that we have for the gym. Those are just 2 steps that we took. And it really did make a huge difference for both in-person and online training. Online training with COVID has skyrocketed.
Yep.
But I never would have even considered trying it were it not for my time with Octane.
Yeah. And what COVID has really done is it's kind of pigeonholed clients, especially because clients are the ones that are, the late movers. They're the ones that are going to be the last to accept or to come around to accepting, online programming.
Yeah.
And I say that because, we're kind of on this track where we think personal trainer, we automatically think in person, we think in a legacy gym.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we think when we think of personal training. And since COVID, we've really seen, Zoom workouts, exploding. We've seen online programs exploding. We've seen everything kind of move towards the online side of things.
And maybe never going back.
And people are really starting to open their eyes to it and accept it and understand that really it can be just as effective, with a lot of the communications, a lot of the touch points. There are some things that if you're in the gym with someone, you can obviously give them a little more hands-on training as far as certain movements go.
There will always be a market for in-person training, for private training. There will always be.
Yeah.
There will never be. You're never going to find yourself in a world where, Terrell Suggs is going to do an online training with an online coach unless he's forced to by his team. I mean, someone like that is almost always going to go with somebody in person. That's an extreme example, obviously, but there's always going to be a market for it.
But would someone like Terrell Suggs, would they accept an online meal program?
Yes.
Would he do his meal programming, and would he be tracking his meals online where his coach could see real time what he was doing with his nutrition? And so the cool thing about online is you're not really just online. I mean, you can be online and in person. There's hybrids models.
Yeah, hybrid model.
And what's cool about that is, like, let's say you have a client who can't afford to come in 4 times a week. And so, you do a hybrid model with them where you're giving them 3 days or 2 days online and 2 days in person. And the pricing is obviously different for that, but it's another option. It's another tool you have in your toolbox to allow your clients to continue to receive programming from you, and for you to continue to retain those clients. And the cool thing about online is it's so much more scalable than in person. So
I'm happy you brought up hybrid. I have actually recently, I don't even know if we've talked about this, I have shifted because I used to do what you just said. I had my in-person and I had my online, and then I had my hybrid people, and the hybrid people would be on a special price for that. Now, today, I have found it extremely effective and motivating for people to come in here if they know that everything is hybrid.
Yeah.
Every client that trains at Strict Vision now has the option to do the hybrid model. I match the number of workouts they do in here with the number of workouts I give them for at home.
That's awesome.
So if someone, that's everyone now. And that's sort of a new development. There's so much that has happened in the last few months that I haven't really rolled into the marketing. One, because I was sort of blocked on Instagram for a bit, but that's one.
Sorry, Instagram.
And sorry, I'm not sorry. I ended up noticing that just so many people really like that because it doesn't just send them out blind, and it allows me to sort of never get out of practice with the online side of things. Now, hybrid is really, I think, the best of both worlds because you take a model like an online training model where the person's not here and I'm never going to see them, and they get to communicate with me through a private Facebook group, and we communicate maybe, once a week over Zoom, where we actually have a live feed. It's at this table. I talk to the monitor and I answer questions and do movements with the group.
Sure.
A hybrid program, on the other hand, as opposed to strictly online, allows the client to come in and do their workouts with me. And then when they do that, if they have questions about their online programming that's been provided, they can ask it in person. And in person, I can answer, using the stuff I have in here. Yeah, this is how you do it. So I really like it. I like hybrid, and I do it for everyone now. That was kind of the point I was making.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I've never heard of a in-person online hybrid the way that you're doing it, and I really like the way that you're doing it because it compensates for actually the amount of time that the client pays to be in the gym. If you have more time in the gym, you get more time of programming outside of the gym. I think that's really cool how you've integrated that into your programs here at Strict Vision. Now, when we talk about online training specifically, there's really 3 different models, traditional models. There's the one-to-one, which is one-to-one coaching. There's me as the coach, and then there's you as the client.
Sure.
And I would just be programming for you. The second type is one-to-many. So there's me as the coach, and there's a whole group of people that I'm coaching for.
Like a challenge.
Like a challenge type of setting, exactly. And then there's subscription model. And when you talk about subscription model, you're looking at like a P90X. You're looking at like a website that you pay, let's say, $60 a month.
Get access to all the footage and the movements and the workouts.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same for everyone. And all of them have pros and cons. So like the one-to-one, for example, the pro to the one-to-one, the advantage of that is you are really customizing the program just for one person.
And the price is high.
And the price is high. It's a high ticket. So you're talking one-on-one to people. You're really customizing their experience. You're making sure that they are having the best experience as possible. The con or the negative to one-to-one coaching is that you can't scale it very easily. You are trading your time for money.
Yeah.
And so, when I sit down with a client one-on-one, if I'm a coach that wants to scale my business model, if I have a ton of leads coming in, it's going to be very difficult to scale in that model.
If you're only training one person at a time and you're giving them call it 45 minutes every other day instead of a group of people. Yeah, it makes sense. And that's why I continue. That model, number one, I don't do one-on-one unless it's hybrid through a client who's one-on-one in here. I don't typically do online one-on-one. I do challenge online.
Yeah.
And then my goal is to do the subscription model. That's sort of the next phase of online training, to create a Strict Vision Athletics, website or even like a YouTube page where it's a subscription-based model to go on there and see all the movements and the workouts are on there, whatever, but something like that. And I think one of the pros to that last one, from the perspective of the trainer, is that it's very, very hands-free. It's very like you've created this, people pay to see it, they use the information or they don't. But it's not a time-intensive version of training as opposed to the other two.
Yeah. I'll tell you the con or the negative to the subscription model. And this is something I think we've talked about in the past, is people lose interest, people burn out very quickly in that model.
In the subscription model.
In the subscription model.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because they don't have enough skin in the game. They're not paying enough
It's probably the cheapest of the three versions, right?
It
definitely is.
Typically the cheapest because it works really well for fitness influencers or celebrity influencers that have a huge following.
Yeah.
And can basically put together templated workouts, templated meal plans for their following.
I think Mario Lopez has something like that. P90X was kind of the exception. I mean, P90X definitely kept me motivated. I ran through that program.
Ab Ripper X?
Yeah, man. Oh, all of it. The Ab Ripper X, the yoga, his leg days were fire.
Yeah.
That guy was, what was his name?
Tony Horton.
Tony Horton.
That
guy was shredded. Just ridiculously fit.
Dad goals.
He was one of the first guys that really got me excited to exercise. Because I started with this program when I was 13, 14 years old.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was cool. That was a great program.
We did it all the time. We had a gym at work, and, all my gym buddies, we would start out with the yoga before a workout. We'd do the yoga flow. Yep. We did the Ab Ripper X at least one time a week, and we had like 5-10 guys doing it at a time, and it was like regular every single week. I give him a lot of props. I think it was a really cool program.
He was a pioneer.
He was
he was doing something. He was doing that before anybody was doing that. After that, there was a couple others. What was the one that came after that? It was like called Intensity or something. It was
I know.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It came right after that.
Then there's the martial arts one that came out. Remember the martial arts?
I don't remember the martial arts one. There was a martial arts one that came out after that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a bunch of knockouts after that. I will say, so the subscription model, that is part of the negative part to the subscription model is people aren't paying enough to stay engaged.
Yeah.
And what happens is your problem needs to be less than the money. So the money has to be bigger than your problem. And so if the money's not bigger than your problem, then you're if I'm trying to get in shape, let's say for a vacation I have this summer, and I want to lose 20 pounds. But if I'm only paying, let's say $20 a month for a subscription service to get there, well, all of a sudden my problems, the money's not bigger than my problem. So if I walk away, it's like what, $60 over the next 3 months, and I don't really care about that.
BFD, what do I care? I just $60. That's nothing. Yeah, it's a trip to the gas station I just spent. No, you're 100% right, and that crosses over into that's just kind of, I think, a principle of, human behavior. Yeah. If you have a lot of, as you put it, skin in the game, you're a lot more motivated to do things. And that's why I love the industry that I'm in. I love the industry, but I love the niche that I'm in. I like private one-on-one training or even just two-on-one training, but I like private training because the people that you attract are people who are very serious. It's someone who really does want to transform. Yeah. They're better clients.
And you get that personalization, you get to meet the people, you get to know them in your model. And I think most people that are in coaching, for the most part, love coaching because of the interaction, the personalization.
Oh,
you
definitely.
Get to meet, you get to know people, and
I do.
Yeah.
I love it. I love getting to meet all sorts of people. Everyone's got a cool backstory. Everybody's got something they're working on, and the editor of the podcast brought something up. He's like, you are a character in everybody else's story. And how do they try to think of your business model through the eyes of the client? Mm-hmm. How do they see you during their time when they're here?
Yeah.
How do they look forward to it? Do they get, and that's really why I tried
1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Are you a drill sergeant? And some people need that.
Yeah.
Some people look forward to that.
Totally.
Some people love to be yelled at. Yep. Some people just like that stuff. And, as a trainer, in person or online, you're going to have to sort of learn to chameleon and figure out what that client is, and do they need this or do they want someone who's just sort of chill? Like, I got clients who, they're 50, 60 years old. They want to be pushed, but they don't want to get yelled at. They're not going to get yelled at by a 29-year-old kid. Like, no. That's not their version of training. Totally. But everyone has their own optics of how they view you in their story and how they view their training experience when they're with you. And your job as a trainer is to create that little world for them every time they come in.
Yeah. And
it's why I made this facility. I wanted it to be fun. I wanted people to, literally tonight, when we had a big event outside of the gym, and a lady just walked right up and she was like, "Yellow's my favorite color." oh my gosh, I love Marvel. This place is so cool. And then she signed up.
Awesome.
Like literally 2 hours before you got here. So, that's a perfect example of how just going the extra step, but maybe going a lot of extra steps to make the environment somewhere where you would want to work out and create an environment that feels and looks and just seems really, really fun. That's what I have found to be even more attractive than the, hardcore equipment that's in here.
Yeah.
Some people are into that, but most of the time people are in here and they're like kind of wowed by the colors, the Marvel and the fun, not the dope equipment.
No, I love it. I mean, if you guys haven't seen this gym yet, you got to check it out because it's something else.
Something else.
Definitely something else.
It's
But what I would say is like, you're 100% right. You have created an environment and it's your job to meet the client where they're at and learn how to motivate them. You are paid to learn how to motivate them, what motivates them, what doesn't motivate them. Mm-hmm. There's also a very popular saying that like, if you can explain someone's problems better than they can explain them to themselves, you have them as a client. And so, you also have the solution and you know their problems better than they know them themselves. And that's why they come to you. That's why they're attracted to you. That's that magnetic message that you have.
And continuing to educate yourself in whatever it is that you're doing. This is a perfect example of what you just said. I had a client who was doing the cold therapy and he only tried it once. After he tried the cold therapy once, he had tingling and weird numbness in his fingers and it didn't go away for 3 weeks. He just finished his program. At the end of his program, he's like, I'm trying to get him to go back in. He goes, I don't want to go back in. My hands are not going. And I'm reading the literature. I'm calling. I've got a surgeon friend of mine who loves to come here and do it. And it just kind of dawned on me. I mean, I asked him, have you ever had any sort of a injury in your past that had anything to do with your spinal column? And he goes, yeah, 2 years ago, I was surfing and I accidentally crashed into a reef and I have 3 bulging discs in my neck that, they don't bother me, but I know that they're there. Sure. And just, that's an example, like, figuring that out, I was like, oh, that's it. Yeah. That's why you're having this. The cold is forcing those neural pathways to open, and your spine. I ain't a surgeon. I haven't seen your MRI. I don't know what's going on with you, but you need to see a specialist. He's like, yeah, I should probably. But perfect example. He was gonna quit, and after we had that discussion, he went. He didn't say, but he went to a maybe. He's like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go see a neurologist, and I think I'm gonna come back and try it again.
Yeah.
Just that.
Yeah, and honestly, I think, I'm a huge advocate of the cold tub, of cold immersion. We're both big Wim Hof fans.
Yeah.
But I think it helps to open up those neural pathways. I think there's no doubt about it. And so, it might be the first time that those pathways were opened up and he was feeling things again. I'm not a doctor again. I'm not going to claim to be a doctor, but I think that there's so many benefits to cold immersion and not just cold immersion, but contrast therapy, going from cold to hot and vice versa. So over the last, how long have you had your Frostbite fit chamber? A year? Okay. Yeah. Over the last year, man, I won't shut up about it. My wife's always just like, stop talking about it.
She still hasn't tried it.
I'm like, I can't stop talking about like how awesome it is and how great it makes me feel. Like it's such a hack. I feel like it's such a life hack because all of your stress, if you go into a day like super stressed out or whatever, you jump into the cold tub for 10 minutes, you go into the sauna for another 30 minutes afterwards. Like that's just all gone.
That's extreme. You don't even need to do that. You and I do that, but you don't need to do that. No. You could go into the cold for 3 minutes and then get out and go into the heat for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And you would have that hack. It is a life hack, and it definitely changed how I view recovery. I'd always known about it, and I'd done ice baths before, but never really with the, mental side of it being really heavily influenced, really focusing on, the Wim Hof method, learning to control your body through your mind.
Yeah.
And training, going into it consciously with, okay, that's what I'm training myself to do. It has very little to do with my physical body. I'm going in this to mentally prepare for stress.
You're overriding the fight or flight response that your body has, and that's a very useful
Parasympathetic nervous
technique.
system.
That's what we learn. I mean, hot yoga is the same way, man. You just want to.
Did you notice they started talking about that out of nowhere all of a sudden?
Did they?
What's her face? This is funny. I think Autumn, a couple of the girls follow the page, and I'm always talking about that. This week, it was the very first time they started talking about how breathing can control the parasympathetic nervous system. And I think it might have been her first time saying it because she misspoke during the class. And I was like, oh, that's funny. She's talking about the parasympathetic. She said something else. She said like parasympathetic, or she said it wrong. I just remember that. But it was funny. I'm like, oh, they're talking about it now. That's cool.
Yeah. And that when we first started doing hot yoga too, it was like, there's nothing more than you wanted to like run out of the room and jump into an ice bath or a cold shower after hot yoga. And it's like, you just want that. You just want to get out of it. And that's what's cool is like learning how to control your breathing through those situations. And I think it helps in so many aspects of life. If you're in a high stress situation, if you're running, learning nose breathing. I mean, there's so many great aspects of contrast therapy just because of the breathing alone.
Yeah.
So,
the breathing alone, even without even without it, but the contrast therapy really does. Breathing, meditation, and contrast therapy. Those are the 3 pillars of the Wim Hof method that are essential. It doesn't have to be extreme cold, and you don't have to do it for a long time, but I feel like you have to touch all 3 of those.
Sure.
That's what you're doing to learn to consciously control your thoughts.
Yeah.
And it goes, like you said, it goes beyond just doing it in there. I don't know when the last time you had road rage was, but it's just like, that's a perfect example of something like something bad happens and you might just be like, oh, man. That's okay.
Namaste.
I'm sure he's having a bad day too. It's namaste. Exactly. And it seems like hooey, but it really does help. It really does help with everyday life.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to go back to the second model of online training. We didn't touch on that one in particular.
Which would be the group, the challenge.
So one to many. Yeah. We talked about one-to-one. We talked about the subscription model, but we didn't really talk about the one-to-many. And to answer your question, so you were saying you like the subscription model because you're giving up something with the one-to-one. You're giving up your time.
I like the one-to-many. I've never done the subscription model. Yeah. I want to do it. That's my goal.
Sure.
But right now, I only do one-to-many. Yeah. One-to-many those are the challenges, and we try to do maybe even like one challenge a month.
Yeah.
But it allows people to get the programming that we do here, the programming that I've worked on for, I don't know, a decade, and get it at a rate that is really affordable.
Sure. And so the one-to-many, the cool thing about it is there's hybrids that you can do off the one-to-many where you can kind of incorporate it with the one-to-one. And I'll give you an example. This is what you talked about in your challenge. So you would do one-to-many training. You'd train a whole group of people in a challenge, right? Now, in the challenge setting, you have your group of challengers that you can do what we call cornerstone content, which is your live stream. That's your live stream workout once a week, regular time, regular interval, just like a TV show. And so when your challengers show up and watch you do your live stream challenge, then after the challenge, you can do a question and answer. You can go over the meal plans. You can go over the workouts. You can go over any aspect of the program. So that kind of makes it a hybrid between the one-to-one because they're actually able to interact with you in this scenario, but it's also the one-to-many because you have a whole group that you're speaking to.
And that's why the Facebook group is so good. That's why the Facebook group for the challenges really does fit into a nice little niche. It provides you a way to, just as an example, we have a 24-hour answering policy. If they have questions on their program and it's not during a live stream, they'll post them in the group. And oftentimes the group members will answer the question before we even do. Yeah. That's just one example. The Facebook group really does work exceptionally well when it comes to model number 2 with regards to challenges.
The Facebook group works great, and then you add into that the competition aspect with the challenge. So you have the community aspect, the collaboration amongst group members,
and the prize when you win. So
and
it's like not just
the competition on top of that. You're really creating a very engaging environment online for your clients. Now, with these two things layered on top of each other. You're for the first time, really, you're able to create an engaging online group experience. And, this is where I think CrossFit got it right. they created the dynamic of community successfully, very successfully.
Get people off the bench.
Yep, and you see what happened with CrossFit. It blew up. People love that community aspect. Now, are there people that don't like the competition? Are there people that don't like the community aspect? Of course. But more than not, people love to be in a community and in a competition. And if you can get that into a group setting, now remember what the negative part of the subscription model was. The negative part of the subscription model was you're not charging very much. So people don't have enough skin in the game in order to get good results because their problems are bigger than the money, right? Their problems are bigger than the money. But with the hybrid model, so when you're doing a hybrid model in a group setting, like a group challenge, now you're in a position to charge high ticket prices. You can charge high ticket prices for online group training, and you can do it in a community, and you can also do it in a competition. And so this is the best of every world because it compensates you as the trainer for putting together this challenge and programming. You can program for each person individually.
Sure.
You can do,
unlike CrossFit that doesn't do that.
Yes. Yeah.
And we can talk about that, but continue.
You can do your weekly cornerstone content, which is speaking to everyone and then having people ask you questions in a group setting. The benefit of people asking you questions in a group setting is the fact that when someone asks a question, chances are a lot of other people in the group have the same question.
Yep.
So when you answer one question, you're answering 5, 6, 10 questions that are going to inevitably come up with the other challengers.
Yes.
This really gates both your time and your energy as a coach. And in this model, again, you can charge high ticket prices. High ticket prices get better results than subscription model low ticket prices, or anything where the challenger or the subscriber does not have a lot of money invested into the program. So
you can charge enough.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily charge what you would charge for the one-on-one, which is
one-on-one in person or one-on-one?
The one-on-one online. I mean, the one-on-one online program. I charge less for my challenges than I do for one-on-one because the one-on-one is just that. It's attention to one person. So you charge enough. I still charge anywhere from right now $200 to $300 a month to do the challenge.
Sure.
That's usually enough. You charge enough to where people understand that there's something, and you get compensated. One thing you didn't mention was the compensation for the winner. And that's a big motivator in that competition. We don't just want respect when we win. To actually win something, and what we do is, like you said, we usually give the winner their money back. If they paid $300 a month, they get their ticket back. The workout was free, and they get something else. We'll give them a hat or a headband or something. But it motivates people beyond just I want to get better just for respect.
Sure.
Side of things.
I would not undervalue the aspect of recognition. People loved to be recognized. People love to be recognized. A lot of times, the last person someone got recognized was when they walked across the stage at their high school graduation. And so people.
Dang, that's a daunting thought.
people love to be recognized, and I think we underestimate the value of recognizing like the winner of a challenge. There's challenges where online groups are charging up to $1,500 per participant. It is doable to have participants pay high ticket prices for online challenges, especially, if it's the same duration as you're programming for a one-on-one client, you can charge. You have the competition aspect, you have the community aspect.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that would way rather do that.
It's almost more
than
appealing.
be in a one-on-one setting. So
yeah.
I would say you could totally get your challenges as an online trainer to the same spot that your one-on-one training is as far as what you're charging per client. I think you totally could get there.
Totally. And with regards to recognition, you're 100% right that people like to see that their work is seen by others. It's one of the big reasons why I make a habit of filming at least 2 workouts per client that come in here and train with me. And that's not this in-person training I'm talking about here, but the people like to see that people see they're working hard. What's the saying? If it happened and nobody saw it, did it really happen at all? And there's some truth to that. People want to see. They don't just want to see the results for themselves in the mirror in 90 days after they do their program or whatever. They want to see people's response to their hard work as they do it day by day, and they want to feel the encouragement even when they haven't got there. And that's what I always make sure that no matter who it is, if they're working in here and they're working hard, I try to get them on social media, on the story, just something to where people see that they're working hard. They get to tag it, put it on their page, show it to their peeps. It's great. It's a easy and awesome way for everybody to get, like you said, a little recognition for the hard work they're putting in that so many people aren't doing. Yeah. And that's, sometimes that right there, it does two things. It obviously gives you credit for the work you're putting in. It also creates FOMO for the people who aren't. Yeah. They're like, wow, okay, well, I didn't do that today. Maybe I should think about calling whatever. Maybe I should call the trainer. Maybe I should, it's awesome as a trainer and marketing, obviously, but sure. For the people doing it as well.
The really cool thing about this model, that where you're combined for the challenge model, let's just call it the challenge model. Mm-hmm. The really cool thing about the challenge model is it's so scalable. Yeah. It's so scalable. I mean,
shout out to your boy who's at EOS right now.
Yes. So that's funny that you mentioned that, because today I had a meeting with a trainer, and he works at a corporate gym, and we got into, how much are you making per hour? And, he had no problem telling me about it. And it was like $17.50 an hour. And a lot of his sessions were only 30-minute sessions. Mm-hmm. And so, he's not doing back to back hours of training. No one does. He's doing maybe 30 minutes here, waiting an hour, doing 30 minutes there. And I was I was blown away, honestly. I was like, wow, you were making $8, $9 for every half an hour session, like you get mixed in.
You'd make more money if you went and became a server at Arby's or something like that, like you would.
And one of the things too that I don't think that health coaches and personal trainers think about is like when you're with one of these big gyms and you're training, you're creating all these personal relationships with your clients, and you're meeting them. You're really not taking those leads with you when you go to a new gym. You're not creating.
You can try, but they might
try, but you don't really have. You have never established a lead management system. You've never established like those lead lists that you need going from one place to another place. Yeah. And that's really, with Coaches Know, we're basically working on a company for the business side of online coaching. Mm-hmm. And with Coaches Know, we're really training health coaches, personal trainers, how to establish all the systems and how to create a scalable online business model. Yeah. So it's getting the appropriate systems in place and making sure that the business model that you have is scalable. Mm-hmm. And so if you are a trainer at a large corporate gym, you are establishing lead lists. You're putting systems into place to follow up for retentions, for referrals.
Whether or not you're there or not.
Whether or not you're
still there or you decide to branch out on your own.
Exactly.
You still have that.
You have something to take away with you when you migrate to another place.
It's very interesting, and I'm excited to see when the program is ready to view, because I have never had to go through any of this. My introduction into fitness and through a professional lens is very odd. It's very different than what most people did. I trained with the NFL and then I came straight here. I never had to generate a lead list or worry about taking clients or any of that. So I'm interested to see, obviously any business can scale, and what can this gym scale? How can it scale? Sure. Where it's at now. But I'm interested to see what process if I'm at EOS and I have 8 clients, how can I create systems to where when I leave, because I feel like that's why they're compensated so poorly at those places. It's because they know they're going to leave. Very few trainers will stay there for their life. Like very few trainers will live and die at EOS. Most of them, their goal, if you were to ask them, is to get out and open their own place. That's usually I think what would be said.
It's kind of the saying, like, you get what you pay for. And it's cyclical. You know, the gym doesn't want to pay the trainer, and then the trainer's not happy and the trainer leaves. So the gym doesn't want the trainer to leave. So they're not paying what the trainer should, you know, the trainer thinks or should be compensated for. And it's like a vicious cycle kind of. So, you know, it could be a combination of both of those things. But you have to really, as a health coach, as a personal trainer, you got to look out for your business, your name, your reputation, your brand. And you have to constantly be thinking about building that while you're moving through the steps of your career. Because, you know, a lot of coaches, a lot of personal trainers, when they start, they're not thinking about this at all. They're not thinking about, you know, retaining clients for the future, retaining lead lists of clients for the future. They're not thinking about
building
a
social media base. There's something right there that everybody, no matter where you're at, should be doing. If you're training people, you need to be working on social media, because if you have any plans to scale in the future, that's going to be one of the biggest lead generators that you'll ever have, is going to be your social media.
So when you talk about social media, you really have to look at it as organic and paid. So there's a couple different aspects to social media. I think
neither of which will work if you have no branding and you have no content and if you haven't put any time into it and you've got 180 followers and you don't post anything and you don't, you know, do training. If you don't work on it, it's not going to do anything no matter what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. And so but I also think sometimes people get too caught up, too honed in on just the social media, and they think it will carry them. Whereas, you know, you have to also be thinking about giving value. We are in an economy today where it's value-based marketing. Value-based marketing wins out. And an example of that is like you giving away value to someone off the street for free without asking anything in return. Yeah. And so we've got this whole like dating period, let's call it, between the lead and between you as the coach. Yeah. And when the first time they follow you on social media, first time they come into the gym and check this place out, that's when the sale starts. The sale starts then. It doesn't start when you get them on a phone call to talk to them over a strategy session and try to work on closing them as a client. Like, it's too late if you're trying to convert a lead and you're trying to nurture a lead at that point. You really need to start the lead nurturing process at point A, when they walk into this gym or when they follow you on social media.
When they find us on social media. Yeah. So oftentimes I get people who DM me and say, hey, I've been following you for 9 months now. I love what you're doing. I'd love to come see you. I have no idea that person exists. I have no idea they're watching my stuff, but I know that they're watching my stuff. And that's why, you know, we like to have a healthy balance, and I say we because now I have someone helping with the social media, and it really does become, if you really do take this to the point where I feel like everyone should take this, it will eventually become too much for one person to wear both hats. If you are a trainer, program developer, and you want to be serious on social media, may want to consider, you know, delegating that to someone. But that's another, you know, giving content that is valuable and free, as well as humorous. Yeah. That's what engaging. I love that. I honestly, I never thought of myself as a marketer, but I definitely love being a content creator. The details of, you know, doing the hashtags and getting it on the page and following up and, you know, answering all the comments and doing that's the job of the marketer. But this sounds so vague. Being in front of the camera, animating out little skits, talking about workouts, you know, that's me. Yeah. That's what I like to do. I love the details and the science behind program development and behind whatever, you know, helping someone, you know, gain, helping someone lose, helping someone shave a couple seconds off their mile time. I love the science of that, but I don't really love the science of social media. I like the content that I can create for it. And that's where I feel if you want to get the eyes on you that eventually will nurture leads, you have to have the healthy balance between the sciencey, healthful, you know, here's a workout, here's a number of sets, here's a number. It's free. Just watch this video. Here's value. Here's free value. I'm going to do a product review on the Muscle Mace from Elite FTS. Here's what it does. Here's how I do it. Here's how much it costs. That's free information. You don't have to do anything for me. It's just free. That's what I think does it. That's what people, that's why they continue to follow you. They get something out of it without having to give you anything in return.
Totally. And again, that's the dating process. That's like them warming up to you as a lead. And what's funny is you see a lot of coaches, personal trainers that hold on to value very tightly. And they don't want to give anything out.
Not at all.
And it's like, I've heard this before. It's like, you can give everyone all of the secrets, but they'll never believe that you gave them all the secrets. Like you can give all of the value that you want away, but your followers, the leads that are in your lead system, they won't think that you ever gave all of your value away and that you've got more. And you typically do have more because what we offer as coaches is so intricate, and we have so much to give, I think.
Yeah.
You can listen to us for a year, 2 years, and still be learning things.
Because we're learning things.
We're
learning things every single day.
Yeah.
If you're a good coach, you're never like done. Like, no, you're always learning. You're always reading. You're always. Yeah, I made it. I'm done. That's it. I don't ever have to read a book again.
Yeah.
So important to be continuously opening your mind and learning from people who are older than you. There's not a better demographic of people that I like listening to than 70-year-old strength coaches. Like people who have done this as a career for 60 or 70-year-old, I don't know how old Dave Tate is. I'm going to age him here. He's not 70, but he's older than I am.
Sure.
Guys like him, Louis Simmons, every bit of 70 years old. Those kinds of guys that have dedicated their lives to this and have just obsessed over it for 50 plus years. Someone like that's who I want to listen to.
Yep.
And that's what I want to be ultimately, eventually. And I feel like people, whether or not they think you have more to give, they're going to follow you if they think that you're continuously learning, because they're going to realize, okay, there's always going to be more where this come from. This is an endless well.
It is. And we talked about the cold tub being a life hack. Another life hack is mentorships, investing in yourself, investing in mentorships. I mean, it's like someone giving you the cliff notes to a novel instead of you reading the whole novel. I mean, there's people that have been there. There's people that have done that before. Not everything you're doing is
so
groundbreaking.
much easier than doing it. Oh,
yeah.
Groundbreaking is so overrated. Just go to the guy who already did it and get it broken down into a smaller 30,000-foot view. Sharing knowledge, getting to what you said earlier about how certain coaches are oftentimes afraid to do that. And sometimes I feel like those same people are the people who work for these big corporate gyms, because they feel like, well, okay, this person is paying me, let me rephrase. The person is paying the gym $50 for this session. They already have the gym membership. They already have a baseline understanding of what exercise is. If I give them this program, like really give it to them, and I explain how to do it, and then they still, what do they need me for?
Yeah.
Like what? And that is, I've had trainers tell me that, like I have worked very, very hard to completely reverse that here. I give, the very first thing I do is I give all the clients their workouts right out of the bat. All the workouts that every client ever does here at Strict Vision is on their phone. We create a portal, send it through the app. They own it. They have it. They leave here with it. It stays with them like something they actually bought, not just the time they spent in here and then, okay, thank you, goodbye.
Yeah.
When you come in here, we'll figure it out next time in my little secret book. And that's how it was. It's funny. That's how it was also where I trained with the NFL too. We had, now it didn't really matter because they didn't want the programs anyway, but we held on to the programs. They came in, we had them prepared, and then they did them.
Okay.
But I feel like, Gen Pop, not being top tier professional athletes, they want to absorb this even more.
Yeah.
They want to have it. They want to know they bought something beyond just the time they spent in here with you.
Oh, totally. It's something that it's something tangible they can bring away with them from your training sessions. And that's awesome, man. It's like, I like the fact that you've incorporated, the amount of days you spend in the gym. You get compensated for the same amount of days for programming outside of the gym. And then that aspect is really cool too, that they get to take away something tangible, which is their entire program with them when they leave. Now, the problem for them is that you get a new piece of equipment in here about every day. So you've got new exercises to put into these programs all the time.
I had somebody come in here There's times like this where I'm actually, it's really happy to know that it is working. My mom had somebody that she went to a chiropractor's office or something, and somebody was in there and saw her name and said something like, "Hey, this is a bit of an odd question. Does your son own some kind of a weird gym?" And she's like, "Yeah, he does." And he's like, "Can you please ask him where he got that chest fly attachment that goes onto the bench? I don't understand how he finds these things. I followed him for about 4 months now, and I don't get where he gets." And she told me that. I was just like, that's awesome. That's hilarious. That's because you're right. Maybe I got a problem. I probably have a problem. I definitely have a problem.
Hey, if you're gonna have a problem, that's not a bad one to have.
It's not a bad one to have because it's just it's so overboard that it's almost encouraging when you see it. You're like, okay, this is, wow, you take this seriously. Like it really is. It's just, at this point, I can't really think of anything else that I want or need. Certainly not need,
we'll give it a day.
We'll give it a couple days and we'll see what happens. But
I'm partially responsible because I introduced you.
You're more than partially responsible. You're always sending me stuff. You're the reason I have at least half of this stuff is you. But it goes back into the business. And I like to say that a carpenter is only as good as his tools. And that's why I feel so oftentimes there are good trainers that are, for lack of a better word, stuck at a place like a Sporta or any corporate facility where the atmosphere is off, the equipment is limited, you have to share that limited equipment with other people. There's just so many factors going on that
there's also the aspect of, hey, this person came in for training. You're up next. You're going to be training them. And it's like, well, the relationship goes two ways. It's like, I'm a good fit for this person, but this person has to be a good fit for me too.
Yes, it's forced.
And being selective as a coach, as a personal trainer is very important. Like it's not just about your client, you being a good fit for your client and their needs. Your client has to be a good fit for you.
Totally.
Because you will totally burn out on clients that you are not engaged and energetic about coaching. You will totally burn out.
Or you don't. Getting to a place, I'll never forget when it happened. It was like a really, really defining moment for me in my career when I said no to a client. I said no to a client. It doesn't happen very often. In fact, I think it's happened a grand total of 2 times in my entire career where I've said, no, I don't want to train you. No, this isn't a good fit for you.
Yeah.
But the first time it happened, I'll never forget it because you just, when you're starving, for lack of a better word, when you're a trainer and you're just, you're on your own, you got to pay yourself. You got to figure out how to cover all this stuff. And you just, whatever it is you're doing, it's all on you.
Yeah.
You can't say no to anybody. You'll train Richard Ramirez if he were to break out of prison and come in here. Like, I'll train anybody. I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
But, getting to the place where you realize that personal training is just that. It's very personal. And you want it to be a two-way street. You want to enjoy what you're doing. They're going to know if you don't. Mm-hmm. And that's what I realized with this one individual who had, started here. And I realized that it wasn't a good fit. I told him so. I'm like, hey man, look, not really a good fit. I'm gonna give you your money back. Wish you well. Go on your way.
Yeah.
You should have seen the look on his face when I told him that. You're going to do what? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to give you your money back. And I wish you well.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not something that you hope ever happens to anybody, but it's probably going to happen to everybody.
And coaches need to know that that's an option that's available. Mm-hmm. They need to know that that's an option available. Like, I can say no to a client. Like, this is not the client for me. Yeah. And it's okay to say no. It's okay to be selective. In fact, the more selective that you find yourself being, the happier you'll be and the more successful you'll be.
And being assertive without being arrogant.
Sure.
That's a big part of being a trainer. Understanding that while you are hired by this person, you are not an employee. You are not hired by this person to, placate to their every need. If they are whatever. I've had clients with attitude issues, real attitude issues.
Yeah.
And the second person that I, basically dismissed, I told her, I'm like, look, you have got to come into this with a better attitude, or this isn't for you. Yeah. I'm not gonna train somebody who's pissed off to be here. Yeah. I can't understand how you're pissed off to be here with what you're paying. You're paying for something that is supposed to be motivating and fun. Mm-hmm. And it's your job as a trainer to really bring that out of that person and really push them, not just physically, but emotionally, really to see the positive side in what they're doing. Sure. It's not just people hate working out. They just do. They hate it. They don't have a passion for it. Maybe they'll never have a passion for it, but it's your job as a professional to really instill at least enjoyment during the time that they're with you.
Yeah. I think once you get them to the point where they start really seeing and feeling results, then it gets a lot easier. And it gets a lot easier. Certain bell curve that you have to get over with.
And some people will say just that. I hate working out, but I hate being out of shape.
Yeah.
So and maybe, and that's true. There are people out there that will never love it like you and I love it. This is never going to happen for them. It's not their thing. But they're smart enough to realize I'm not going to, live to be 30 and then explode and vaporize. No, I'm going to slowly decay. I'm going to get fat. I'm going to have to go to the doctor. I'm going to have to get on meds. Like all this stuff is going to happen to me once I get past a certain age. Mm-hmm. What can I be doing to prevent this from happening? How can Father Time be delayed? Yeah. And this is it.
Yeah.
What we're in. That's why I love this business. It helps anyone. No one is not helped by doing what we're doing.
Yeah. And I feel like, one of the big difficulties too is chasing a bad diet too. Like someone that leaves definitely. Your gym and then just goes wild over the next few days and goes way outside of their macros or the meal plan or whatever, or doesn't have a meal plan at all, and then comes back and you're just fighting a diet. Basically you're fighting a bad
I have no quandary with hitting up old clients and be like, hey, how's it going? You ruining all my progress that I made in you? They're like, kind of like, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Let's get back in here as soon as we can. Just cause it's an investment. You've made an investment in this person, sometimes an investment of months and years. I have clients that are training with me for 3 years. You've made a real investment in this person. The last thing you want to do is see them just kind of throw it away. Yeah. If you're going to leave, fine. You've got your own thing going, whatever, but don't leave and then just quit and just stop. Yeah. And just entirely change your life. And that's what, so oftentimes people ride the roller coaster of, ups and downs, whether it's emotions or whatever's going on, but they're not consistent. They don't stay consistent in the gym or with their training, whether they're in with you or whether they're not.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like a yo-yo type of thing.
Yeah. So. Yeah, for sure. Well, man, thanks for coming on. Seriously.
Thanks for having me.
Really great time. Guys, Jake with Octane Fit Garage, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of the podcast. If you guys like our content and you want to see more of it, click the subscribe button down below, or as always, you can follow us on any of our other social media platforms. Stay fit, you guys, stay healthy, and become the 1%.